What's the greatest thing you've gotten away with? When I was in 7th grade I wanted to go home early from school, so I filled my mouth with soup at the end of lunch. When the next class started I dramatically went up to the front and threw up the soup in the trash can. My mom picked me up and I stayed home the next day, too. I told her like 15 years later, and in hindsight she found it hilarious. You'd be amazed at the people's parents actually think is funny as hell. Sometimes we have to do the right thing at the time. Sometimes it's only funny in retrospect. Oh, how many times did I have to turn away because I couldn't keep a straight face while reprimanding my son. When I was 18 I went to a casino in Minnesota with my roommates. They gave us wristbands since we were under 21, and we cut those off in the bathroom right away. I sat at a slot machine that had an empty beer bottle sitting on it and started smoking a cig. A waitress came by and swapped the empty bottle for a full one without even stopping. As long as I had a bottle with me, they kept serving me. Shouldn't it work the other way around? People over 21 should get the wristbands, so underage people can't get them? Why do they even let underage people inside a casino anyway? In Germany they throw you out after checking your IDs. I was a scissor happy child. Loved cutting whatever I could get my grubby little fingers on, including one time my pinky knuckle, which required a trip to the doctor for some stitches. So my parents were aware of my little hobby. One day while they were away we had a nanny, my mom's sister, while dad worked and mom was in school and we were unsupervised. I cut my own bangs and convinced my little sister, 2 or 3 at the time, to let me cut hers too. I butchered us. I wish I could find the picture. When we were found and questioned, I panicked and said my sister had done it. Everyone asked, well, why the heck did you let her cut your hair? I told them she told me to close my eyes and I didn't know she was cutting it until it was too late. They believed me. My sister didn't get in much trouble because she was so young. For years I kept up the charade. I thought for sure my parents knew, but it was long ago now and I'd gotten off the scissors. I only found out in adulthood that my parents really and truly believed me all those years. My mom was shocked when I told her it was actually me while we were going through old pictures of me and my sister with our bangs sticking out every which way. For years I kept up the charade. I thought for sure my parents knew, but it was long ago now and I'd gotten off the scissors. r/knock and text. I broke our fancy glass water pitcher. It wasn't anything super expensive or an antique or anything along those lines. Just a cool looking glass pitcher. We needed it so that we could feel fancy while drinking our juice concentrate, I guess. One day I was thirsty and we didn't have any juice made and the pitcher was in the dishwasher. It had just been run and was hot to the touch. Perfect, I thought as I set it on the counter and grabbed the can of orange juice from the freezer. With as warm as it is, it'll melt the odds really fast and I won't have to wait to drink. So I poured the juice in and then started putting in the water. As I did that, I started hearing a weird popping sound. I checked the dishwasher to see if it was coming from there. It wasn't, and I just couldn't figure out where the sound was coming from. When I poured in another can of water I heard the popping sound again and a large crack appeared, running up the side of the pitcher. I suddenly remembered that when very hot things meet with very cold things, it can cause warping and cracking to occur, especially with a fragile object like glass. I promptly drained the pitcher, planning on putting it back in the dishwasher and pretending that nothing ever happened. But I knew that I couldn't just put it back. It had orange pulp all around the bottom. My mom would know that I had tried to put juice in it. Okay, new plan. Rinse it first and then put it back. So I started rinsing it and the bottom fell out. The entire bottom of the jug fell off and clanged around in the sink. I thought for a second that it would shatter and that all my plans would be rendered useless. I knew that I would get in trouble for breaking the pitcher. I might even get yelled at. But it didn't shatter. Aside from not being connected any longer, the bottom chunk was okay. So I picked it up and connected it back and it fit perfectly. Aside from being broken it looked pretty good. Fit back together. and with no pulp remaining I put the pitcher back in the dishwasher and walked away. Eventually dishes were emptied, and much to my mom's annoyance, she discovered her glass pitcher was broken. We bought another one next time we were at the store and we were given specific instructions to only wash it by hand. To this day my mom will sometimes warn me about washing glassware in the dishwasher. You need to be careful when you're washing glass. Remember that glass pitcher we used to have? I don't know what happened, but somehow it broke in the dishwasher. The whole bottom fell out when I inspected it. That was 20 years ago. Illusion 100. Damn right. Now if only I could apply that skill to the rest of my life. Earlier this year, when I was broke as f***, I bought a slice of pizza knowing damn well I didn't have enough money in my account. But I was so hungry that I tried anyway. FTPOS machine said transaction declined, but the lady didn't notice and gave me my slice of pizza. I felt really bad about it, but holy speep I got so lucky. Very possible she let you keep the pizza and she paid for it herself later. When I worked at Subway I let these kids have the full meal deal with cookies, a drink, and chips because the smallest kid said that they were poor and the mum and the dad tried to hush him. They really did look poor. Once went to Flamingo Land with my aunt and uncle. Have no idea how, but we managed to accidentally go into the back exit. Just so happened that security was lacking, and when we realized our mistake we walked through the park and tried to pay at the front. But they weren't paying attention, and so just stamped our hands thinking we wanted to get out. Wold cost $140 for the four of us. I accidentally snuck into a country asking for the bathroom in an airport where they didn't speak English. Drunk at a music festival. Saw there was a 15-year-old kid working at the footlong corn dog booth. Walked up and waited for a couple seconds. Kid looked at me and said, "Did you already pay?" Said yes and had the greatest corn dog of my life. Like taking corn dogs from a teenager. I'll start using this if you will. Cheating on a final exam in college. I had the same prof for 3 different classes in my final semester including the 450 course. In one class a group of us would stay in the room after the prof left to study/hang out because room wasn't used right after and the prof didn't mind. Shortly after he left I noticed that he left his jump drive in the computer tower. This was about 12 years ago and each room had a computer or 2 for both the profs and students to use freely. Simply went up to the computer and copied all the files to my jump drive. When I checked it later I found a gold mine of documents, spreadsheets, quizzes, and tests to all the classes he taught, including the final exam to the capstone course for my major. I had no idea exactly what might be on there, and I was floored at what I had found. It would have been best to keep it to myself. After all, if I managed to get caught it could have comprised my entire college career. So what did I do? I told the dumbest person I knew. Of course. My best friend from my hometown in the same major who was taking the same 450 class. I won't go into stories about his antics, but let's just say he had a reputation. Fast forward to exam day. We memorized the test and agreed to get a few wrong on purpose as to not arouse suspicion. What I failed to discuss with him was to sit there long enough to not arouse suspicion. For a test that took most about an hour he popped up after 15 minutes and slapped the test on the prof's desk and practically skipped out of the room. I couldn't believe it. I sat next to him in class and it was super awkward after he left. I acted like I hadn't already finished too and waiting for a few others to finish first before leaving. Don't cheat, kids. Stay in school. So did your friend get caught? Ha. No. Guessing everybody assumed he didn't study, filled the test out, and got out of there. Afterwards I went straight to his apartment to say WTF, then cracked beer, laughed, and forgot about it.